Poems for Andrew. Reid, it's September 10th, 4:45 p.m., and it's time for you to get up. I know it's not easy, but you must try and try again. Your legs have worked before, and lucky for you, they'll work again. Your first boyfriend may have killed himself today, but that's no excuse for you to just sit there. You must get up. You must move forward. It's September 10th, 5 p.m., and these questions take more than half an hour. Look at Andrew. They took from him his whole life. You know, it's a good thing there's no place for teardrops in poetry, because the truth is, you don't have many to offer. This is not to say that you haven't cried or that you won't still, but the issue is he's already taken them all, wrung them from you like a wet cloth to bring to his mouth and drink from. It's raining this afternoon, the sky opening, emptying itself, and you know this because it's hard to see through the water on your glasses. Will that suffice? I've had enough, Andrew. About a month ago, you followed me on Instagram, and I blocked you in less time than it took to ask myself why. I still don't think this was wrong of me, but I wonder. The time before that, I avoided your eyes some Saturday night at the beer garden, nearly fell trying to hide myself, and I still don't think this was wrong of me, but I wonder. Is this the difference between shame and regret, between knowing, in fact, that you did nothing wrong, but thinking that you could have done a whole lot better? I told myself I would never apologize to you again, but here I am saying I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Reid. It's September 10th, 5:45 p.m., and it's time for you to get up. It seems that when other people speak of a precious light now gone from the world, when they speak of a light that burned you, often the thing we choose is silence, to not speak of the puckered skin on the small of your back, to not ask Hosea what was left then, if really he took all the best parts of himself and placed them as a gift inside you. It's truly incredible how strong a mother is. While sitting next to her son's still body, she comforts. Though she needs it more than anyone else, she comforts. She reminds, she remembers, she forgives, she comforts. To the boy who once loved, crumpled at her feet, she offers all the smile she can muster, and 2 hands, though her grief has sharpened to the thinness of a blade, and it is her whole body, her hands, like any good mother's, are still strong. They were still strong. I'm so sorry I didn't come sooner, he says, and she knows he doesn't speak in terms of hours. The years between them are bridged by her palms and his upturned hands, resting on a cascade of lace skirts. With her eyes, she says, you were gone for so long. Around them, strange aunts, uncles, and whispering grandmothers toss stories to one another across the room like so many yards of linen and prayer to wrap his paling, unearthly face and keep him fresh in their lifetime. Why didn't you? She asks, her voice the soft scratch of a pen on paper, entirely devoid of accusation, because the absence of a son apparently is just need, a sharp probing to fill numb desire. With her eyes, she says, why wasn't I enough for him? I was taught that dishonesty can only bring pain, but how do you tell her about being pressured into sex on the theater room floor, the scab that formed on the small of your back where the spine scraped against the rough carpet? How do you tell her about the empty look in his eyes as he looked at not you until he noticed the shit smeared across his belly and said, oh my God, why did you let me do this? How do you tell her to protect myself? So instead, in familiar form, you stay on your knees and say, I don't know, please forgive me. With her eyes, she says, return to me, that which was lost. And in silence, you agree to acknowledge that there are some things a mother should never have to lose, some threads of memory that belong to another understanding outside of her. Each day, when the sun rises, the night sky seems impossible. Each time he threatened to leave, we thought our love would be enough. But here you are, without him, saying I'm sorry, and you build another image. I wouldn't have noticed it if not for Sydney saying, "Oh, so you knew Andrew," pointing to the funeral card and a flurry of papers pinned up beside the register. We're in the costume shop getting gloves and hats for a party where everyone will take pleasure in pretending for the evening to be a part of somewhere else, 80 years ago, before us. "Oh yes," she says, "he was wonderful. I just found out. He was in here all the time. Such a sweet boy, so talented. It was with me for a whole 24 hours. But you know, it's a good thing people forget." Loop. People forget. People forget. People forget. People forget. 8.5 weeks, and I don't forget. I move through my days without needing a funeral card to keep him in sight. My grief is more than a softening around the eyes, a pair of gloves to be returned on the following Monday. Sydney hands her the deposit. It must be nice, I think. It must be nice. Synonyms for forgetting, according to thesaurus.com. Blow, obliterate, clean forget, consign to oblivion, dismiss from mind, disremember, draw a blank, escape one's memory, fail to remember, let slip from memory, lose consciousness of, lose sight of, misrecollect, think no more of. Being confronted with his face in Donovan's profile picture, or in that girl Brooklyn's, or in Caitlin's tagged photos, or in the costume shop, or on the museum's advertising wall, or above Sydney's bed, or in Dylan's wide nose, or in the hair on my arms, isn't a shock, but a persistence, received with a simple, "Oh, yes, of course," and perhaps a sigh. Because grief is not an act of remembrance. Grief is the thing that won't let you forget. Gnats swarm all around my head, and they're the thought of your dying. I swat away at the nagging, though. Again and again I am asked to tell them how it was done. It seems this is all they want, to know and to know again, in an endless cycle of re-knowing, never quite unknowing, or otherwise not forgetting. It's a shame there's no snow in South Louisiana, no expansive field of white to imagine as a plain of unknowing. Only the dense, slow-moving bayou, knots and cypress to mark the passage of time, alligators and garfish holding over, clouds of gnats and mosquitoes pulsing in the trail of your breath. This poem is unfinished. My grief is ongoing.